work it. I put my thing down, flip it and reverse it. Missy be putting it down. I'm the hottest round. I told y'all
I can't stand her. It's my window.
Ooh, I don't need, I can't stand no minutes. You a hot boy, a rock boy, a fun toy. Don't explain, you never change. Same old thing, same old game.
This is a Jazzy Fizzle production shizzle. Missy.
Roll up in my car, don't stop, won't stop. I'ma keep it rocking till the clock don't top. Let me work it. I put my thing down, flip it and reverse it. Get your freak on. Boy, I'ma make you love me, make you want me. Hot boys. Baby, you all in my grave. Why? Because I'm 5'2", I wanna dance with you and I'm sophisticated fun. When they say my name, talk more jump but won't look my way. Ladies, get your freak on. Get your away. Wake me up, show me what you got, 'cause I don't want no one. If you want me, where's my dog? I got more cheese, back on up while I roll up my sleeves.
Missy Elliott didn't just break the rules of the music industry, she rewrote the entire game. In an era when female rappers were expected to be hyper-sexualized or sidelined, Missy did neither and still took over the chart. She was told she was too different, too weird, and too overweight to be a superstar. And then she became one of the most successful artists in hip-hop history. But here's the part most people don't realize. Missy didn't just win for herself, she shaped the sound of the entire industry behind the scenes. She wasn't just rapping, she was producing, she was writing, she was creating the blueprint for modern artists, and then she vanished. For years, people assumed she fell off, that she peaked in the early 2000s and then faded away. But that's where everyone got it wrong. Missy Elliott didn't disappear. She was pulling the strings the entire time. And if you think she's not relevant anymore, wait until you hear just how much influence she still has. Because once you see the truth about Missy Elliott, you'll never look at the music industry the same way again. The music industry is built on a short attention span. If you're not dropping hits constantly, people assume you've fallen off. And for a while, that's exactly what people thought happened to Missy Elliott. After dominating the late 90s and early 2000s with back-to-back hits like Get, Your Freak On, Work It, and Lose Control, she seemingly disappeared. No new albums, no chart-topping singles, so naturally people assumed the worst. Maybe she lost her touch. Maybe the industry moved on without her. But what if I told you that Missy Elliott never left? She just stopped playing their game. Because while everyone thought she had faded away, Missy was quietly controlling the sound of modern music from behind the scenes. She was still producing, still writing, still shaping the careers of some of the biggest artists in the world. And yet, because her face wasn't in every music video, people assumed she was done. But the truth? Missy Elliott was never a follower. She was always the blueprint. And while most artists get left behind when trends change, Missy was the one creating the trends to begin with. And if you need proof, look no further than the biggest names in music today, because Missy's fingerprints are all over their careers. Let's talk about it. But before we do, hit that like and subscribe for more daily videos like this. The music industry has never been kind to women in hip-hop, especially not in the 90s. Back then, female rappers were either hyper-sexualized or completely overlooked. And if you didn't fit the marketable image, you weren't getting a deal, period. So when Missy Elliott stepped onto the scene, a dark-skinned, full-figured woman who wasn't willing to play by the rules, the industry didn't know what to do with her. Executives told her straight to her face, you can rap, you can sing, but you don't look the part. Translation? You're too big, you're too different, you'll never sell. Most artists would have given up right there, but Missy, she turned their rejection into a power move. Instead of begging for validation, she created her own lane, writing and producing for other artists before she ever dropped her own music. She wrote for Aaliyah, Mariah Carey, Janet Jackson, Destiny's Child, some of the biggest names in the game. And by the time she was ready to drop her own album, she wasn't just another rapper. She was the woman shaping the entire sound of R&B and hip-hop. But she still had one problem. The industry still didn't believe in her. That's why her first music video, The Rain, Super Duper Fly, was a direct response to every label that told her she wouldn't make it. The oversized garbage bag outfit, that was on purpose. While other female rappers were forced into tight, revealing clothes, Missy wore the biggest, baggiest outfit possible to prove a point. She was saying, I don't have to be sexy. I don't have to fit your image. You're gonna respect me because I'm talented. And guess what? It worked. That music video shocked the world. Not only did it become an instant classic, but it also changed the way female artists were allowed to present themselves. Missy wasn't just successful, she rewrote the rules of success. And once she broke through the industry's glass ceiling, she didn't just survive, she took over. But here's the craziest part. Missy Elliott's power didn't just come from her own music, she was also creating hits for other artists, making sure her influence never faded. Let's talk about how she secretly shaped modern music from behind the scenes. Most artists get one chance to make it big. They drop an album, chase the charts, and pray their moment lasts. Missy Elliott, she didn't need to play that game, because while most rappers were fighting for a temporary spot in the industry, Missy built a permanent seat at the table. And here's how. She didn't just make her own music, she made everybody's music. Missy was writing and producing for some of the biggest artists in the world, long before she became a household name. She wrote and produced for Aaliyah, crafting hits like One in a Million and 4-Page Letter, songs that literally shaped the sound of late 90s R&B. She worked with Janet Jackson, Mariah Carey, and Whitney Houston, giving them some of their most iconic records. She co-wrote Beyoncé's Signs and helped shape Destiny's Child's early sound. Even modern artists like Ciara and Keisha Cole had hits that Missy wrote, produced, or influenced. And here's the wildest part. Missy could create a hit for another artist and still keep her own style fresh. Most artists burn out because they run out of ideas. But Missy, she was giving away ideas and still making her own classic records. She wasn't just competing with other artists, she was supplying them with hits. And that's why, even when she wasn't in the spotlight, her sound never disappeared. But Missy's power didn't stop at writing and producing. She also changed the way music looked, because in an era where music videos were just flashy outfits and backup dancers, Missy turned visuals into an art form. Let's talk about how she reinvented the entire concept of a music video and why artists today are still trying to copy her. Back in the late 90s and early 2000s, music videos all looked the same. Big mansions, expensive cars, and artists standing in front of the camera trying to look cool. Then Missy Elliott showed up and flipped the entire game upside down. Her music videos weren't just visuals, they were wild, unpredictable, and straight up futuristic. Nobody had ever seen anything like it. The blown up garbage bag suit in The Rain Super Duper Fly, instantly iconic. The gravity defying dance moves in Work It, straight out of a science fiction movie. The robotic breakdown in Lose Control, completely ahead of its time. Missy didn't just make cool videos, she made moments that stuck in people's heads forever. And that's why her visuals still influence artists today. Nicki Minaj has openly credited Missy as one of her biggest visual inspirations. Tyler, the creator, said, Missy's videos were the reason he got into music. Cardi B and Megan Thee Stallion's WAP video, straight out of Missy's playbook. Surreal sets, exaggerated visuals, and creative chaos. Even in an era where artists have huge budgets and insane technology, nobody has been able to match Missy's creativity. Because she wasn't just making videos, she was inventing a whole new language of visual storytelling. And that's what separates trendsetters from legends. Most artists follow the trends of their time. Missy created trends that artists are still copying decades later. But if you think that's impressive, wait until you hear how she single-handedly forced the music industry to change its sound and why she's still ahead of the game today. Most artists get their moment, their time at the top, and then fade into nostalgia. But Missy Elliott, she's still ahead of the industry, even when she's barely releasing music. And here's why. The sound she pioneered in the late 90s and early 2000s is still shaping today's music. Think about this. When Missy first came out, she wasn't following trends, she was creating them. The weird futuristic beats. Now, artists like Doja Cat and Lil Uzi Vert are building entire careers off sounds Missy introduced over 20 years ago. The offbeat stop-and-go rap flow, that's literally what made artists like Nicki Minaj and Megan Thee Stallion famous. The genre-bending mix of hip-hop, R&B, and electronic music, that's exactly what the biggest pop stars today are doing, but Missy did it first. And the craziest part? Missy's sound was so ahead of its time that people didn't even fully appreciate it when she first dropped. When she released Pass That Dutch in 2003, people thought it was too weird. Now it's one of the most sampled songs in modern music. When she dropped She's a Boss in 1999, the industry didn't know what to do with it. Now it's one of the most referenced videos in hip-hop. So while most artists from her era had to adapt to stay relevant, Missy's music didn't need to change. The world just needed time to catch up. And that's why she still gets more respect from artists than most of today's biggest rappers. Even without dropping albums, she's winning Lifetime Achievement Awards, getting inducted into the Songwriters Hall of Fame, and being praised by everyone from Beyoncé to Pharrell. Because at the end of the day, Missy Elliott isn't just a rapper. She's the architect of modern hip-hop. And while most artists have to fight for a comeback, Missy never needed one. She's been here the whole time. But there's one last thing that truly makes her legacy untouchable. And it's something that no amount of money, awards, or streams can replace. Most artists are lucky to leave behind a catalog of hits. But Missy Elliott, she left behind an entire blueprint for the music industry. Her impact goes way beyond just the songs she made and the artists she discovered. Missy literally changed what was possible for female artists, for hip-hop, and for music as a whole. And that's why no one can ever take her place. Think about it. Missy Elliott didn't just succeed, she broke every rule and forced the industry to accept her on her terms. They told her she didn't have the look for mainstream success, so she made her own style legendary. They said female rappers had to fit a specific mold, so she redefined what a female rapper could be. They tried to put her in a box. She built an entire lane of her own. And the real reason Missy's legacy is untouchable, she did it all without ever changing who she was. In an industry that constantly forces artists to chase trends, change their sound, and sacrifice their originality just to stay relevant, Missy never had to, because she was the trend. And even today, when you listen to modern hip-hop, R&B, or pop, you're hearing Missy's influence everywhere, whether people realize it or not. That's why she's still one of the most respected artists in the world, even without chasing chart numbers or social media hype, because some artists come and go, but legends don't need a comeback. Missy Elliott never left. The world is still catching up to her. The industry tried to count her out, box her in, and push her aside. They told her she wasn't marketable, that she needed to fit their mold, that she couldn't make it without changing who she was. And she proved them all wrong. She didn't just break barriers, she erased them. She didn't just change music, she redefined it. And unlike most artists who fade into nostalgia, Missy's influence is still everywhere. Think about it. Every time an artist blends hip-hop, R&B, and futuristic sounds, they're pulling from Missy's playbook. Every time an artist gets creative with visuals, they're following a path she paved decades ago. Every time a female rapper breaks expectations and does things on her own terms, that's Missy's legacy in motion. Missy Elliott was never just a rapper. She was a visionary, a trendsetter, a blueprint for the entire industry. She's the reason artists today have more creative freedom. The reason hip-hop and R&B sound the way they do. The reason music videos became a form of art, not just marketing. And even after decades in the game, nobody has been able to do what she did. She was doubted. She was overlooked. She was told no at every turn. And yet, here we are. Missy Elliott is a Hall of Fame songwriter, a Grammy-winning artist, a living legend. And the best part? She didn't have to chase trends. She didn't have to change for anyone. The world just had to catch up. So the next time someone asks, what happened to Missy Elliott? The answer is simple. Missy never left. The industry is still trying to catch up.